Hello and welcome to Gamezillong Countdown.
With Godzilla King of the Monsters coming out the end of next month,
and with new monsters showing up in the new trailers,
today we'll be talking about 10 kaijus we'd like to see join the Monsterverse.
Now, please bear in mind that this list is purely wishful thinking and completely ignores any licenses that would otherwise block their inclusion. So, let's go!
Still be fun.
Oh yeah.
Number 1. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. Plenty of us fans love to see Godzilla throw down with his fire-eating turtle counterpart Gamera. Us included, Gamera may have a history of hokey films, but the Heisei trilogy proves that he can be taken seriously. But like I said, everyone wants to see this happen, so let's move on.
Number 2.
Not all giant monsters have to be hostile. The Ogra from Gorgo could be just normally peaceful creatures that simply exist without bothering anything. Unless, of course, they're provoked, in which case their attacks can be vicious. We've already seen what a parrot can do to a city just looking for its child.
Number 3. With giant monsters walking the earth and soaring through the skies, who's to say that giants don't exist beneath our feet? The graboids, while not nearly as massive as the likes of Godzilla and Kong, could be included as interstitial creatures similar to the mother longlegs, skull bison from Skull Island. Not a major focus of a plot, but a nice bit of side creature to flatten out the Monsterverse.
Number 4.
Speaking of underground creatures, Baragon could be included as a much larger subterranean menace. He could even be shown eating the previous entry as food, and a city being breached from below is an interesting visual.
Number 5. Adding Biollante raises the question, what if there were giant plant monsters in the Monsterverse? Even if Biollante's origins completely is different to allow for this to happen, she would be an incredibly interesting scenario.
Number 6.
With giant monsters apparently being more prevalent in these movies than anyone in them could have reasonably conceived, who's to say that giant monsters didn't become a dominant species on some far-off alien world in this series? That's basically what many of H.P. Lovecraft's tales were about. So what if Lovecraft's most famous intergalactic priest, Cthulhu, made planetfall in some future Monsterverse movie? Godzilla vs. Cthulhu, that's what.
Number 7. Like the graboids, the ants from them need not be the size of the Titans to be a welcome addition to the Monsterverse. And like the graboids, they could be included to flesh out the franchise. Also, imagine people fleeing from the chaos caused by more famous monsters only to be picked off by giant ants. Terrifying.
Number 8.
What if some rogue agency took the DNA of the Titans of the Monsterverse and spliced it with human DNA to create humanoid weapons to battle the giants? The War Gods from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind and the Avas from Neon Genesis Evangelion might be the result. We're including both of these creatures in one entry because of how similar they would be given this hypothetical origin for them.
Number 9. Going back to the idea of a giant space creature for a moment, what if instead of a giant monster became the dominant species of a planet, creature like the last entry became the dominant one? And if they retain their humanoid intellect, who to say that they didn't become a spacefaring race? Basically, we're saying we'd love to see Ultraman throw down with Godzilla. For realsies this time.
Number 10.
Did you know that Marvel made more than just superhero comics? They also made tons of stories involving giant monsters. Heck, that's actually a plot element in the first issue of Fantastic Four, the series that kickstarted Marvel's post-war superhero boom. But these days, Marvel rarely spotlights its history with giant monsters for more than 5 minutes. So if they're not going to use their monsters for more than an occasional sparring partner for their heroes, why not let them loose into the Monsterverse? And Fin Fang Foom is probably the most famous of Marvel's giant monsters. Well, aside from the time that they wrote Godzilla comics.
And those are our picks for the kaijus we'd like to see added to the Monsterverse.
Are there any monsters you'd like to see added to the Monsterverse?
Leave your comments down below.
Until next time, this is Gamezillong Countdown. I'm Protomet.
I'm Tank.
See ya!